the Playmaker Zay, and we are back with another episode of New York Playmakers. Now, it's been a little while since we've been here. I've been out, a couple of weeks, you know, family stuff, work, life gets in the way. But that happens. But either way, we are back with another episode, and we're going to start off like we usually do with the New York Yankees over in baseball in the MLB. There hasn't really been much offseason acquisitions as of recent, but the Yankees signed Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt. They signed an old flame of Andrew Velasquez, shortstop, and they signed first baseman Dominic Smith. Not the biggest acquisitions, but good nonetheless. All positives there. With the signing of Cody Bellinger, rookie Jason Dominguez, he will start in left field. Cody will be in center. Then Judge, big ass Aaron Judge, is going to go back in his rightful place at right field. That's the ideal outfield for the Yankees, really. But the biggest thing that they need is second baseman and third baseman. Now, at third, they could easily play DJ LeMahieu, who I think is at the end of his career. He hasn't really done much as of recent for the Yanks. He's been injured basically every so often. He hasn't really produced like we've always wanted him to, like he was before in previous years. But he's been good for us nonetheless. But again, recently hasn't really shown what he's still capable of. I think his time is done. At least in New York, anyway. You're having like a totally like the same Anthony Rizzo situation. It's the same sort of deal that's going on. He's at the end of his career. He's not producing as much as as we all would like to see, or as even he would like to see. But that happens. It's just his time's done. But again, you have LeMahieu at third, who's still on the team. You have Jazz Chisholm and Oswaldo Cabrera. They both could flip-flop between second and third. But I think you need somebody else now that Gleyber Torres is gone. Even though he wasn't really much help as of recent years. It was error, strikeout. That's usually how it went for Gleyber. But Alex Bregman, Brendan Rodgers, Brandon Drury, Whit Merrifield, all good options for the second and third baseman positions, along with Nick Madrigal and Yohan Moncada, who could play third base. I as as being a true diehard Yankees fan, nobody wants to see Alex Bregman over the Yankees. Nobody wants to see him there as solid of a player as he is, because as we all know, he was a part of that 2017 Houston Astros cheating scandal team, as we all love and hate, strictly just hate. But again, he's a solid third baseman. He's still on the market. Nobody's claimed him yet. Then you have Brandon Drury and Whit Merrifield, both solid options for second base, and I believe they both could play third base as well as a backup. That's the route that I would go down. Is go down Brandon Drury, Whit Merrifield, or even Yohan Moncada for third base. Then you swap Jazz Chisholm and Oswaldo Cabrera, because Oswaldo he can play pretty much anywhere. He can play in the outfield. He can play in the infield. He just can't pitch or catch, as one would call it. But options, you have plenty of options in free agency. Slowly dwindling down, though. As the time goes on, the offseason moves forward. Not a lot of options. Just keeps going straight down the hill, But you have options if you're the Yankees. I would say you need a backup for Austin Wells. I mean, he can't play every day, but there's not a lot of options in free agency. that you can really get. Excuse me. So maybe you move up through the system, but again, there's not a lot of you know backup starting options that's in the system currently at catcher anyway. So Luke Maley, maybe an older boy, Jan Gomes. There's some options. There's really some, but there's not much for catcher anymore. Um, as for starting pitching, looks like Marcus Stroman is going to get the boot since we brought in Max Fried. We still have our ace Garrett Cole, Clark Schmidt, Luis Heel, then Max Fried. So Stroman's going to get the boot, ultimately, unless he moves to the bullpen. But that doesn't seem to be the case, as he unfollowed the Yankees on social media. If he ever followed them to begin with, I don't I don't really know that much, but that seems to be the case that's been going around for a while now. So you're looking for another infield piece. You don't really need any more pitching. You signed a couple of people. Granted, you just lost Tommy Kahnle to Detroit, who's I miss him. I'm gonna miss him, man. He was one of our best pitchers in the last couple of years. He was a solid starter. So I mean that you gotta find someone to replace him, But maybe go the Andrew Heaney route, or maybe pick up Jack Flaherty and I don't know, move someone to the bullpen. But as for the infield case, because you're still missing again the second and third baseman, that real true option. There's trade rumors going around that Josh Smith and Marcus Stroman will be involved in a trade between each other, between the Rangers and the Yankees. That is a wide open option that the Yankees could go down if that's what they choose to. If they don't just release Stroman straight up or move him to the bullpen. I like Smith. I've always liked Josh Smith. He's always been a good, young, fastball player. Not the best bat in the world. Excuse me. But solid nonetheless in the infield. He's good at defense. He's good defensively. He's fast. He's a little speedster. And he can get on base. And when he does, he can steal. That's always been, my kind of option with him. Again, the Yankees haven't really done much besides the obvious Bellinger, Goldschmidt, those two. Not really, done much since then. But there's still pieces of the puzzle that are, still missing, as we've talked about recently. Second base, third base, maybe grab another relief arm somewhere. That's your options if you're the Yankees. Now we're gonna move over to the Mets again over in Queens, as we kind of love and hate them as a Yankee fan, but it goes both ways. They recently signed Ryan Stanek, AJ Minter, then of course Jesse Winker. All pieces that they needed at the puzzle. As for the whole Pete Alonso situation, initially he declined their qualifying offer. He was looking for more money, and he's looking for at least a 3-year deal. If you want to keep him, then just keep him. Re-sign him to a 3-year, $125 million deal that he's ideally looking for, But what else are you going to do? There's not much else that you need if you're the Mets. As for, first base. Pete Alonso, he's an okay bat. He's a power bat, as we all know. He can only basically hit home runs. Um, but that's it. That's all Pete Alonso is now. He hasn't even won the home run derby in a few years. He just isn't what he was used to. He's just not the ball player that he used to be, not anymore. So his trend, his trademarks have all gone down to shitter. Still a good aspect, still a good acquisition for the Mets if they choose to reunite with him. Um, as for other options, again, you could go maybe Nick Madrigal, Yohan Makata for third base, third base and first base. Then you have guys like Joey Gallo, our strikeout king, Connor Joe from Pittsburgh. He's another option. I like him. He's a good young ball player. Ty France, same thing from Seattle, and Gavin Sheets from Chicago. You got options at first base, man. If you're the Mets, you gotta really fix those positions because the offseason, it's coming to a close. Granted, you got another month, maybe a month and a half until spring training starts, but you need to start picking up the pace. You signed Juan Soto, which was the mega deal of the year, the century, to be honest with you, besides Shohei Ohtani. Excuse me. What else do you do? Again, you signed AJ Minter. You re-signed Sean Manaea. But you need more options. Now, as of recent trade rumors have gone around, they are interested in a deal with San Diego Padres starting pitcher Dylan Cease, who had a great bounce back year. I believe he had like a 3.47 ERA out of year before, like 4.18, something like that. He had a great year. One of the best years he's had since he's joined the league. So who do you give up for him, though, if you're the Mets? What are your options? There's not a lot you can do if you're the Mets and you're looking for an ace starting pitcher like Dylan Cease, or even a second and third starter like him. There's not much you're capable of if you want someone like him, because the rest of the team, they look solid as it is. They look great. But you don't want to go too far out, spread yourself just so paper thin, and ruin your team in that aspect. Maybe you get rid of Starlin Marte, a couple other guys, maybe some cash. Nothing too drastic. You really don't want to go out there. Thanks, Jace. Appreciate that. You don't want to get yourself too spread so far thin that you can't make any more moves, that you can't go out and sign anybody else. You don't want to spread your system too thin either. You don't want to get rid of guys left and right and left, up, down, center, square, circle, just to give up, just to get one starting pitcher. This team is already good. It's playoff material. You got the chance to play the Dodgers in the playoffs. You lost horribly, but, that happens when you're the Dodgers, the super ultra mega team. You made it there. You made it to the playoffs as you were. That's enough. Really. I mean, the signing of Ryan Stanek, AJ Minter, Juan Soto, obviously, all great options. Now your team is there. You need another starting pitcher, maybe two. Again, Jack Flaherty, Patrick Corbin, maybe Kyle Quantrill, just to complete the rotation out. That's what you do. If you're the Mets, go out, re-sign Pete Alonso to that 3-year mega deal, then go get yourself another starting pitcher. Now, we're going to move over to football. leave the best for last. But we're going to start out with the Giants, our New York football Giants that we all, I don't even know if it's love at this point. You finished the season 3-14, one of your worst records in years. You're drafting third this year. You recently fired your defensive backs coach, Jerome Henderson, and your safety coach, Michael Traer. So now you're spread micro thin there. You gotta figure out the whole situation. You gotta draft the quarterback. You need the offensive line to get picked up. So you draft some guys there, and maybe the defensive line, or maybe the cornerback, since it's kind of spread thin now. Cam Ward's the favorite to go to the Giants. I've liked him. I've always liked him. He's always been one of my top options for the Giants to sign. Shedeur Sanders, who's one of the favorites to go first, either to Tennessee or New England. Then to the Giants, of course. All great players. Even throw maybe Jason Milroe in there, who's one of the top, quarterback prospects in the draft this year. You got to get somebody. You really just got to go all in and fix the draft this year. You got to fix your team the way that it should have been done. Because you threw Daniel Jones out there. He's gone. He's in Minnesota as a practice squad member. He's not even in the starting lineup, not even in the depth chart. Excuse me. So you have no options. You have no real options at quarterback now. Because Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito, they're not going to do it. They will not do it for this Giants team, as this year proved. They're both okay backups, and that's all they will ever be is backups. That's it. So you go out this year, draft either Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders as quarterback. If they don't both go first and second to Tennessee and New England, you gotta just play the game. You gotta play it right. Now, as for your other positions, the cornerback or even wide receiver, Travis Hunter, he's one of the top favorites to go first in the draft. I liked him. He won the Heisman this year. He's one of the favorites. If nobody else trades up and drafts for him or to him, I guess. Again, Tennessee, New England, they're both right there. They both could use him. Excuse me. I've been sick lately. But again, if you're the Giants, you go and draft a quarterback, your offensive line, you got to fix that. Kelvin Banks Jr., Will Campbell, or even Josh Simmons, all great players. Or even Mason Graham or Abdul Carter, both great options. You got to beef it up, man. 3-14 is not going to cut it for anyone. It's not going to do jack shit for him. This team that Brian Dable inherited, again, who's staying with the team, along with Joe Schoen as the GM, they're both staying with the team. But Dable inherited this team. You can't put this record all on him. You had a shit quarterback who you spent a ton of money on just for him to leave in the end. Like quarter of the way, halfway through the year, maybe. Excuse me. If you're Brian Dable, you can't put this blame on yourself. If you're a true Giants fan, you cannot put this blame on Brian Dable. He's the one that got thrown straight into the wolves in this Giants team coming from Buffalo. And he can only do so much. Along with that, and the quarterback situation, injuries, shit happens. People get hurt. They get injured. They're done for the year. Kayvon Thibodeau is one of them. There's a couple other guys that got hurt that you can only do so much for. But that's it. You got to play the game right. You got to play your cards right in this draft. If you're the Giants, go out and draft the quarterback, fix your offensive line, and move down the field. Just straightforward, go right for it. Now, we're going to move to the same stadium, and we're going to go to the Jets. Again, same kind of deal. As the Giants, the offensive line, maybe defensive back, you need an edge rusher, offensive tackle. You're drafting at number 10 this year after going 5-12. If you draft a quarterback, that 100% means that Aaron Rodgers is done. If he isn't done by then already. If he isn't, either retired or traded to another team for God knows what. There's been a lot of talk about that recently, that Aaron Rodgers will leave the Jets or he's going to hang up the cleats and retire. I think the man should just retire. I think he should at this point. He's done so much for himself and his career. Just hang it up, man. Just be done. Just leave, retire. You had a great career. You had a great run. And all your time in Green Bay in your, like year and a quarter, not even, like 1 full year out of 2 in the Jets. Just, it's time, man. It's just time to hang it up, retire. So again, you go down the same row. Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, even Jalen Milroe or Dylan Gabriel. All great options. All options at quarterback and whatever you need to. This is gonna haunt me. All great options for quarterback. Then Josh Simmons, again, Kelvin Banks Jr., Donovan Jackson, Mason Graham, Walter Nolan, Deion Walker. All great options for that offensive tackle and that defensive line and your edge rushers that have been going on. Recently, the Jets did hire Denver's assistant GM, Darren Mogi, to be their GM, along with the new head coach of Aaron Glenn. Now, your front office is fixed. Now you just got to play it out right. Got to play the game of football correctly. Complete your draft the way you should. Go get an offensive line, fix both lines, fix both offensive and defensive line. Go out and fix that. Play the game. Because 5-12 is not going to cut it. Even if you keep Aaron Rodgers for another year or so, like he's supposed to, you let him ball out, let him play the game, let him just be his old A-Rod self, and let him ball. Now, everyone's favorite time, the Buffalo fucking Bills. What kind of game was that? What kind of fucking game was that? It was a great game for Buffalo. They played their God knows hearts out. Everyone balled out on the whole team, even defensively, where you couldn't stop the pass as much against Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy. You played your cards right. You played the game like you were supposed to, as kind of clean as you should have, even though it's the Chiefs, where they're a little dirty, as we could all tell from this championship game. The Chiefs are dirty as shit. Now, after the fact, after the game, was over, after a couple days worth, 7 referees were suspended after the game. Isn't that fishy? Isn't that just so fucked up? 7 referees. Not 1 or 2. 7. 7. How does that even happen? It's clear as day that the Chiefs are doing something for the refs, whether they're paying them off so that way they can get to the Super Bowl like they have for the God knows how long now, past 3 years, 4 years, whatever. And then Buffalo's just on the receiving end. Buffalo has lost 4 years in a row to Kansas City. Not 1 or 2, 4. 4 straight years since 2020. There's a pattern going on. There's a true pattern that we're seeing here from Kansas City. But Buffalo, they're getting the shit end of it. They're drawing that short stick and just making it to the championship game every single year, past 4 years. And then they lose because we all know at this point in time that the Chiefs are paying the refs off. There was a bunch of missed calls in this last game against Buffalo that the Chiefs should have endured. It should have gone against the Chiefs. Multiple, holding and blocks in the back, face masks, all clear as day. There was a couple pass interference calls that should have been called on Kansas City, but they weren't. But they were all clear as day, as all Buffalo fans know, as any true football fan know. It was all blatant and flagrant. It was obvious that it was Kansas City's game just by how many missed calls there were. How do you even do that? In my mind, coming not even just from a Buffalo or Giants fan, coming from my mind as a football fan, it's clear to me that the Chiefs are paying the refs off, but Roger Goodell is in on it too. That's what's going through my mind as a football fan. Roger Goodell and all the other referees, they got to be in on it. They have to. Like, the Kansas City Chiefs are going for their 3 years, the 3-peat, 3 straight championships, which hasn't even been done by New England back in the day of the Tom Brady days. That hasn't even been done. But how do you let it get to this point? Every football fan outside of Kansas City and even Philadelphia now, we all realize that the refs are being paid off at this point. Not even in just this last game. There's many missed calls that should have been thrown against Kansas City in all of their games, all of their playoff games. It's just clear as day that the refs are just being paid off. Like, easily. In the fourth quarter, where Josh Allen ran for a first down on fourth down, that he was called back. He was called short of the first down marker, and it was a turnover on downs. He made it across the line. He made it past that first down mark, as we all saw. Sure, it was a tight play. It was a really, really close play. But he still made it across that line. He made it there. One referee even came down partway of the field saying, so yes, he's forward. He's past it. He made it. He made the first down. But then the other referee on the other side of the field saying, no, he didn't get there. And then you review the play on both sides of the ball, on both sides of the field, that is, then you dissect it and you still say, no, he never made it across. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? He made it across that line, as we all know, as all football and Buffalo fans know. He made it across that line. He made it past that first down mark. The ball was across the line. We all know this. We all seen the play. That could have changed the whole entire course of that game. Josh Allen easily could have thrown a pass to anybody or even ran the ball with James Cook to draw out the clock. They could have marched right down the field and got there. They could have scored a touchdown that would have changed the whole course of the rest of the game in the fourth quarter. He could have got there. He really could have got there and would have gotten there if it wasn't for that callback. He was there. He was really there. Again, it just pisses me off that being a football fan and seeing all of this happen, all of these missed calls occur against Kansas City, that Buffalo receives, that foul play against them. It's just outrageous to me. How do you even let this happen if you're anybody else? Now, there is a petition going around, I'm pretty sure throughout social media, calling for an investigation of all these referees if they're truly being paid off. I signed it. Yeah, I signed it. It's just obvious. It's so obvious that the refs are way more in favor of Kansas City than any other team in the NFL, even against Philadelphia. It's clear. It's just clear to me, as it's clear to everyone else, that this is the way that this game is being unfolded. I would call for an investigation. I 100% call for an investigation of all this. Because by the sounds of it, the Chiefs will win the Super Bowl again, and they will get that third straight championship. That's really what it's looking like to me. Just by, seeing all this unfold, seeing all these missed calls go unflagged, just watching all these games unfold for Kansas City, you come to realize that, oh shit, he missed a face mask call. Oh shit, he missed a pass interference call. Oh shit, there was a block on the back on the punt that was missed. All these calls are being missed, in favor of Kansas City. That, again, Buffalo, they've done this show 4 years in a row now. 4 straight years that they lose this game against Kansas City, either for not being able to produce like they should have, or just having a missed opportunity because of missed calls, or bad calls that have gone in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs or any other team that they face. But again, you made this show a few years in a row now. You're Buffalo. You have one of the greatest offenses that we've seen in years, coming from Josh Allen, Khalil Shakur, James Cook at running back. All of these guys have stellar years and careers. Josh Allen, 237, had 2 TDs, no picks, with a QBR of 104.7. Phenomenal. That's a really solid game as a quarterback. That's what you want. Maybe throw it for more yardage, but you scored 29 points. Maybe it won't do it. It didn't do it this year. There's been great games in the past between those two teams, between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs, but you couldn't do it because the referees. They miss calls. They miss many fucking calls. Plain and simple. It's just plain and simple, man. Buffalo. There's not a lot of draft options that you need, although you were 24th in pass defense this year. So you go back. You got, I think, 8 picks this year in the draft. You need defensive back. You need an edge rushers. Abdul Carter. Again, I like him. I've always liked him. Michael Williams. Jihad Campbell. Deontay Lawson. All great names that Buffalo needs to draft. Or should draft, if they're available. Well, that's what you got to work on. You got to work on that pass defense. Draft another couple players that you really, really need. And, excuse me, and hope and pray that you make it to the same situation the next year. Again, you were already favorites to start out this year to go into the AFC Championship game. Kansas City was the favorite to go to the Super Bowl this year in the AFC, besides Baltimore and Buffalo, of course. And I guess hope for an investigation. Just really, really hope that this is being done. Because, again, it's just so open and flagrant that it's obvious to anybody watching the game. I kid you not, in this year's Super Bowl, if any missed calls go uncalled in favor of Kansas City, I will flip out. It's just going to blow my freaking mind. But I won't be surprised by it. We'll all be saying, hey, what happened to this? You guys didn't call that. It was called against Philadelphia, but it wasn't called for Kansas City. What the hell is going on? And watch it. Kansas City is going to win the Super Bowl. As putrid as that sounds, Kansas City is going to win the Super Bowl. That's my pick. If you guys want to comment and see what else is going on, if you want my opinion, Kansas City is going to win the Super Bowl. Again, as horrible and putrid as that sounds, unfortunately, that's my pick. Now, I would love to see Philadelphia win the Super Bowl, only because of Saquon Barkley, as all Giants fans know and love about him. He's a beast. He's a phenomenal player, but that's all that's all I'm rooting for. I'm not rooting for Philadelphia. I'm only rooting for Saquon Barkley. Again, I want Philadelphia to win this year. I really do. But I know Kansas City's going to win. We all know Kansas City's going to win. Even look at the logo. This is another conspiracy theory going throughout the NFL and all the fans that we've all been looking at as of recent years. It's all been red and green, or red and blue, red and purple, all going through maybe 5 years of this, at least. Looking at the logo, seeing the majority color being red or even green, saying, oh, Philadelphia's going to win the Super Bowl this year. Oh, Kansas City's going to win another Super Bowl this year. Like, I don't know. It's all one big conspiracy theory that we all have seen arise. It just happens. But Buffalo, I love you. Love your city. Love the team. I really love the team. This team has been phenomenal for so long now. They're getting to their old Super Bowl roots. But You got to change some things around. Again, draft defensive back or an edge rusher. Fix that pass defense the way you should. But the offense, again, stellar as always. There's nothing you really need to do on offense. You have a solid team. Josh Allen. I would really like to see him win the MVP this year. Now, he's still one of the favorites, but so isn't Lamar Jackson and Saquon Barkley. Now, I think that if Saquon balls out and Philadelphia does win the Super Bowl this year, that Saquon Barkley will win the MVP of the year. That's what's going through my mind. But again, I so hope that Josh Allen wins the MVP this year. That's what I think. I think he will win it unless if that event happens of Philadelphia and Saquon winning the Super Bowl. If that happens, again, just ball out, in the next year, get to the championship like you're projected to. Just play your hearts out. Now we're just gonna wrap up here. Y'all know my theories. Y'all know what I'm looking for out of this team, out of all of these teams. Buffalo, the referees, investigation needs to be done. Buffalo, you need to finish what you started. And next year, you need to ball out. Finally beat Kansas City after having, a stellar draft. Your defensive back, your edge rushers. Just finish the job. This is 4 years in a row now that you haven't been able to complete it. You haven't gone to the Super Bowl. You haven't been there. Kansas City is your roadblock. Unblock it. Open yourself up to the room of opportunity and win. Win, win, win. That's what you need to do if you're Buffalo. Now, if you're the Jets, if you're the Giants, y'all need to just ball out when it comes to the draft. Again, if you're the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers does intend to retire or leave the team, you draft a quarterback. Again, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, Jason Milroe, all great options for both the Giants and the Jets that they should do. Again, you fix your lines, both of them on both sides of the ball. Have a good draft. Maybe rebuild next year still. And just hope for the best. Just really hope for the best. Again, going back to baseball to wrap up here. Yankees, again, signed Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt. Now you have your outfield, you have your first baseman. Still need a third base and second baseman. Again, Alex Bregman's still there. Brendan Drury's still there. You got to find a backup somehow to star catcher Austin Wells. And you trade Marcus Stroman away. That's all. That's really all she wrote for the Yankees in this offseason. You guys are projected to win the AL East again this year. Just ball out, play ball the way you're supposed to, and just completely get there. Get yourself to the World Series again, because God knows it's going to be the Dodgers. Just get there and hope for a win. If you're the Mets, you'll be probably facing the Dodgers again when it comes to playoffs. You sign Ryan Stanek, AJ Minter, Jesse Winker, Sean Manaea. You got to re-sign first baseman Pete Alonso. You need another bat. At least, third base, first base, Joey Gallo, Gavin Sheets maybe. And you need another starting pitcher. Or you trade for Dylan Cease somehow. But that's all she wrote. I got to get the fuck out of here. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate y'all coming out. We'll see y'all next time.